All right, perfect timing then. So, guys, please welcome Sasha Karabut. Sasha is the CEO founder from Push Peak Mentoring, and I will hand the mic over to Steve to give a little bit of an introduction to Sasha, because I know that he has a connection with him already. And then Sasha, we'd love to hear all about you and the company and what you offer.
Perfect. Fantastic. Thanks so much.
Perfect. So, yeah, guys, Sasha's a good friend of mine. We've been connected socially now for almost a couple of years. Sasha ran an amazing seminar and was personally mentored by Jordan Belford, Wolf of Wall Street. And then from there, he's got an amazing backstory, which I'll let Sasha share, but made some huge decisions, really reflective of the video we just watched, went all in and grind and hustled. And now sitting here in front of us today, this guy's super successful, humble, driven, has a huge sales team behind him and only really just getting started. Sasha, I'll leave a little bit for you to say, and we'll go there. But mate, welcome and thank you so much for jumping on.
Appreciate that, Grayson. Thanks so much, Steve, as well. Is there an option that I can see everyone's faces through this?
Yeah, I was about to ask. Do you want to? I can take it off the share screen.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, get a bit of an idea of who I'm speaking to there as well. Always makes it a little bit more friendly than looking at the slide there. Yep. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Well, look, first of all, I just want to say a massive thank you to Steve, number one, for inviting me onto or giving me the opportunity, to meet you guys and also share a little bit about myself and what's kind of been real for me for the past several years now, just to get a bit of an understanding of you guys as well. What's some of the is there a chat in here as well? There is, yeah, fantastic. So do you guys want to just post into the chat there, like some of the objectives, like the main kind of objectives you guys are looking to achieve in the next 90 days? Like if you look at a 90-day timeline, you're like, I want to do this. Like, what would you say some of the big things are that you're really got on your mindset there on the horizon for yourself or the company, or growth of your income, or what are some of the things you really are like, I'm hungry to do that, man, let's do it. Sell more, fantastic. 10 sales, excellent. Aaron, what's up, my man? Great to see a familiar name in here as well. That's awesome. Create a better presentation for Zoom meeting. Okay, interesting. Yep. Which obviously there, Paul, resulting in additional sales there as well, I would imagine, right?
Yes. Get more finance brokers. That's one of them.
Finance. Oh, sorry. Wait. I'm like Paul Evans. That's actually, sorry. What?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yes.
Paul Evans. I was like, I thought you were Grace because I didn't see Grace's.
No. So Sasha, I'm Cassie. Paul is the director, but I'm using his Zoom because he's got a paying Zoom, so the meeting can go longer.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay, perfect. That's awesome. That gives me a little bit of clarity there. Thanks so much. And then, like in terms of some of these targets and things you're looking to work on, guys, what are some of the main issues or impediments that you're finding there as well in relation to, for example, selling more for yourself there, Cassie, and 10 sales, Aaron, like what are some of the problems or what are some of the issues you're kind of encountering with that overall? Do you want to just post that in there as well? Give me a bit of an idea of, some of the things you're experiencing there that are getting in the way of that actually happening, or why you're not doing that already. If you want to pop that in there for me, so give me a bit of an idea of where you guys are at with some of those issues there. Ready? Okay. PGP webinars. Perfect. Okay, cool. So overall, just to give a bit of context to I guess the guy here who's going to be giving you a little bit of value and content here for a piece of time before we dive in, I've got a bit of an idea of some pieces that will really help with these. But just to give you guys a bit of a story about myself, I started in this game particularly, probably around about 4 years ago now. So really not too long ago. Before that, I was a carpenter there, and I was, banging around on a construction site and really not doing a whole lot with my life. Really kind of struggling with some debilitating conditions based on my own poor choices around friends, people I was spending time with, my own kind of environment more than anything else, that pretty much crushed me and brought me to a state where I was sitting on the end of a curb one day with my head in my hands thinking like, yeah, this is it. You know, so hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt and a pretty nasty addiction there. So managed to really turn things around and in quite a short amount of time, you know, built this company now. We've got a sales team of over 60 people remotely, and then about, you know, in-house here, it's about 20 people in-house. So doing some fantastic things. And I just encourage you more than anything else, if I can start with this, is to really believe and instill in yourself a huge, deep level of belief. Because the only limitation that you have on yourself, or the only limitation in terms of where you'll end up, is you, right? It's the blockages and the things that you've got in your own mind around yourself, around what you can achieve. It's your own projections of insecurity on the buyers that you're speaking to, all those aspects that get in the way of you actually achieving some of these things that you want to do in relation to closing more deals, more presentations, all those great things. So what I'd like to do, just to go a little bit left wing for around about 3 minutes, is just do a little bit of an exercise with you guys. I'm going to probably just go all in. So if you guys are happy and you're okay with me going like all in on you and not holding back and going deep, is everyone okay if I really do that? Put your hand up nice so we can see. Awesome. That's awesome. Great. Excellent. Cool. So what I wanted to do is just to kind of, because one of the biggest things about, you know, sales overall is that your state, you know, how you kind of enter into any kind of situation is going to dictate the result of that more than anything. And what I wanted to do is just to take a minute this morning. You guys are going to jump into your Friday and attack the day, attack some sales. So starting in a really empowered state. I'm sure you guys do, like, you know, your team meetings and your huddles every morning, but I want to share with you a little something that I do with my guys every morning to really elevate the state and make sure that today is something special. So if everyone wanted to, if you've got a kind of a minute there to sit yourself down in a quiet kind of environment there, it seems as though most of you guys are seated there already, and just kind of make sure you've got all your notifications and distractions and everything kind of switched off for a moment there, and just, you know, sit yourself up nice and comfortably in your chair and close your eyes on down for a minute. I'm just going to guide you through a little empowerment kind of exercise, and then we'll jump into some content there. So if you want to start with just closing your eyes there for a moment, please, with me. That's fantastic. And I want you to let go of kind of all the resistance, right, that you might have to me looking at you, your friends in this room looking at you, feeling like a bit of a weirdo by closing your eyes and meditating right now. And just really let your whole body soften right now. Generally speaking, we hold a lot of tension up in your shoulders there behind your neck. I want you just to soften up your shoulders and relax down your neck there for a minute, and really just experience that all that energy and all that kind of tension that you've got in your body about stress in your environment, things that are going on in your environment, and just let it all go for a minute right now. I want you just to take a nice deep breath in right now from the bottom of your spine all the way up to the top of your head. And just hold at the top of your head for a minute and just feel that energy like pulsating in your head right now. And I want you just to relax and let that go. I want you just to do 2 more just like that with me right now. 1, 2, 3. And hold at the top. And then exhale. And then 1 more deep breath all the way in from the bottom of your spine there. And hold. And then exhale. I want you, just as you've got your eyes closed down there right now, just to feel your body right now in that kind of state, and just know that all those things that you want right now, for example, closing more deals, selling more, 10 more sales, creating a better presentation, being a better person, selling, closing more deals, transferring more certainty to your clients and the privileged people who enter your company, it's going to come from this person right here. Now, as you've got your eyes closed there, you can feel that person inside of yourself, and it feels really good, doesn't it? Right? It's like 100% you. You're like, that's it. This is me right now. That's what's up. There's no doubt, right? There's no hesitation. There's no uncertainty in here. And all you need to do is project this level of certainty onto your buyers, project this level of certainty onto what you do in your life, in your business, in your work, and you'll achieve ridiculous results. All right, so and just really, really picture that and enjoy that and sit in that for just a minute right now. I want you just to picture your day as you're going to plan it out for today, moving forward, and project this level of self into it right now. Picture how your day is going to plan out. Picture all the phone calls you're going to make. Picture all the meetings you're going to have. Picture all the conversations you're going to have, and just see them going absolutely perfectly. Every single thing you touch is done to perfection, perfectly executed, no doubt, no hesitation. You're not stressed at all. It's just easy, right? And you're just like, it's already done. It's already done. It's already done. Right? And I want you just to bring yourself back to the room right now. Bring yourself back and just bring yourself back to your body and re-engage with your environment. Feel yourself coming back a bit more empowered, a bit more energized, a bit more refreshed. Shake yourself off a little bit, and we're gonna jump into some content now that I think is going to benefit in relation to some of the things you're kind of working with. So now, everyone, this is exclusively selling properties overall, right? Any kind of feedback about that? Everyone kind of enjoy that exercise there? Was that pretty cool? To go through and just relax and empower yourself a little bit there. Fantastic, cool. So the number one, or there's two real keys that I've found to seeing sales in my kind of team explode. And the two aspects, or the two parts of the presentation overall from end to end is the discovery, that aspect, and then what Jordan calls like the looping, all right? What happens after you get hit with an objection. Those are the real kind of two components. And how much time have I got there, guys? Just so I've got an idea, how much time have I got there to kind of run through?
Yeah, so you've got about 25 minutes. It's
okay, 25 from now, is that right?
Your court, Sasha. So as long as you can provide, it's up to you.
All right, cool. All right, well, just, I don't know, I'll probably have a tendency to rattle on a little bit. So if I keep going, just say, all right, that's enough.
Cool. Let's say 25.
Cool. So essentially the two most powerful kind of parts of your process really will be, and this is going to help you with those those COVID objections. People right now are extremely hesitant in relation to spending money. A lot of you guys are in Melbourne, so probably more so than me up on the Gold Coast here. I'm pretty blessed to have got away just about unscathed from the whole COVID exercise. So I'd imagine with what you guys are dealing with in buyers down there, you're dealing with a lot more uncertainty, and the real kind of elements of any presentation that make up a really, really strong close. More than anything, I would imagine that I've pinpointed and I've really drilled down and built into my kind of sales methodology is like the discovery overall, right? These are like the two main components, and then like here's like, let's just say this is the part at which they object, right? And then at the end of that, you've got like the looping. Does anyone understand? Everyone understand like to some capacity what looping means? Like, does anyone understand that at a high level somewhat? Yeah, kind of. Okay, cool. I'll run through it in a little bit more detail. But I want you guys to utilize, number one, this acronym that I've developed here for your discovery there. So CARE. Right, and this is super important across the board to kind of utilize as you're going through. So, right, curiosity is the first one, which is the tone of curiosity and the tone of I'm not asking questions with an intrusive kind of tonality that suggests that I'm going to be using this information against you. All right, very curious, just genuinely, I want to know and understand about yourself. And I'm really looking to gain a really, really deep understanding, purely without any intention to hurt you or right. It's that kind of a nature, and more often than rather than the words themselves, what people hear and they pick up on is the tone, right? So it's very, very important that when you're using or when you're going through that process of discovery or understanding about people, you're not coming across with that. Yeah, so tell me, what are some of the things you've had trouble with in the past in relation to buying properties there, John? Right, it's very heavy, it's very intrusive, and it comes with that kind of like, oh, I'm not too sure about this person. Like, I don't know, I don't like it. Right, so it's extremely important. Number one, you're leading with that curiosity and almost empathetic type tone. Right, asking 4 times over. All right. And what that means is, typically speaking, human beings are really good at living in like an illusion. All right. Meaning the surface level answer is never the real answer. Right? What they are telling you first as their thing, their response to your kind of question is never actually the real thing. You've got to kind of dig layers and layers and layers deeper to really understand what it is about that person that's the motivating factor. Like, what is it about that property? What is it about that particular suburb or location that really like lights your fire? Like, why do you want to live there? What does it mean to you? And really fleshing that out on a deeper level. I love to use I like to use this as a, I'm just going to wipe this off now, as a bit of an example. So essentially what you're doing is through your sales process is this. Let's just say, for example, there's a, right, and this is kind of like you right here. And you're kind of like like one of those excavators, right? And this is like your discovery here. Okay, this is like the open of the sales presentation here. Now, when that excavator is like digging this hole here, does it stick its bucket like straight into the bottom and try and like pull out all the material? Like, no, like it gradually goes layer and layer deeper and deeper. Now, if I was to just like skim through and dig a little shallow hole, would I have tons of material here as leverage on the other end after I get hit with objections? No. Right, so the same kind of rule applies. This should be around about 40% of your sales should be done here. Like you really want to build a deep level of understanding of your client there to a really personal level where you know and understand some of their motivating factors. I'm going to go into the rest of this in a minute. So that when you get hit with some objections around price or times or sensitivity in the market, you have all this like energy and stored material in relation to saying, well, you've told me this, you've told me this, you've told me this, you've got so much ammunition to work with as leverage on the back end here to really continue moving and motivating people across the line when you get hit with those typical kind of objections there, right? So extremely important that you're asking them specifically.
Yeah, I just worked that 4,900.
Awesome. So you're working with that on a consistent basis and you're actually digging deeper and deeper and deeper. Here's the thing, guys. What's going to happen is, especially right now, your own safety bias, okay, is going to get in the way of you asking hard questions. You understand that? So right now, people are in a bit of a state of like trepidation and fear and uncertainty in the market. And you all want to be known as a nice and caring, considerate person. You don't want to be too pushy because people have been experiencing some loss. You want to come across very genuine and I really care about you. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to project that insecurity in the way that you ask questions. You're going to avoid some questions because you're like, oh, well, yeah, it's a bit of a hard time. So I better just be nice, right? I better make sure I'm not too rude or pushy. I don't want to be pushy. Right, Aussies particularly, like I sell a lot into the US market and they appreciate probably more than Australians being hard sold. It's like they like being told what to do. Like Aussies have this thing where it's like, don't you get pressure, don't you get hard, right? We have this aversion to being sold to. But I like to think of it like this as well. Like what you're doing as well, in essence, through your sales process, there's 2 main kind of constituent parts that you're working on through the whole process. And it's like this, at the top here, and you guys can write this down and use this as well. I think this is going to help you a lot. So at the top, these are the fundamentals of decision making across the board. So you've got someone's like action threshold, meaning the level of certainty they need to have around yourself, around the company, around the product. Obviously, the product is the home you're selling. It's the collective level of certainty of all those 3 things there, right? That pretty much demonstrates their action threshold. Meaning, for me personally, I have a really kind of almost average, like if I'm in a state of I want something, I don't need to be like, wow, I need to be hard sold to buy. Like I'll be like, well, yeah, okay, cool, whatever, just get it done, right? I'm very easy to sell to, okay? But however, an action threshold here meaning it is essentially a person's, their own internal summary of the value that's being proposed. That's pretty much summed up like this. Right, on one side you've got, you can see that there still, yeah. On one side you've got like how much money is actually being outlaid in relation to how much value they're paying for the thing, right? And that's based on the person's own beliefs around what determines value, what a salesperson is. All the sales in the past where I've been ripped off or been torn money or things have happened, all those things have happened to me that pretty much dictates a person's action threshold. Perfect example. My fiance has an extremely high action threshold, right? She could want and need something so bad, and she'd be like, yeah, but I don't know, like, I don't know how much this is going to cost me. I'm not too sure, right? And she'll deliberate whereas me, I'm like, oh, it's just 2,000. Here's the credit card. Let's roll, right? Like extreme. And some of you guys are probably different in that sense as well. Some of you guys will buy really easy, and some of you guys are like really particular and skeptic and take your time, right? Is this kind of making sense as we're getting through this now? Right, and now on the other end here, right, you've got a person's level of certainty, right, which is based across all of those three areas, meaning yourself, meaning that they believe that you as a salesperson are an ethical, well-driven person who's going to look after them, not only in this first deal, but for the long term as well. The product, meaning the house or the product that they're going to buy and invest in, meaning is it actually an accurate representation of the value of $200, $500, $1 million that they're buying? Like, is the product actually good? And then lastly, the company that they represent, meaning you guys stand behind a trusted company that's looking after them well into the long term. We're not some fly-by-night, overnight success story. We're here for you for the long term. Right, now this pretty much represents the two pillars that formulate a person's decision-making matrix. Because the point at which you reach this intersection, this is where people buy, right here. Where the certainty is high enough and the action threshold is exactly at that tipping point where it's like, well, that makes complete sense. Perfect example, I bought a new car recently, right? I bought a new car, I bought a GLC 63, okay? Now think about that, I paid a good sum of money for that car. Now, if anyone, I don't care who you guys are, if I said to you, all right, now I paid $150,000 for this car, some of you guys are like, well, you're an idiot, why would you do that? But if I said to you this, well, how about I give you that car for 75 grand? All of you would be like, all right, well, like how can I do that? Because all of a sudden it's making sense. The value is beginning to really make sense based on that level of action required to actually buy that. Okay, so that's essentially that tipping point there where people will be like, you know what, let's do it. Let's go ahead, let's open the account, let's sign the contract, let's close the deal, here's my card number, here's my bank wire, whatever it might be. So in essence, your discovery, this is as you go through the sale, through here, this is the open right here. Now your discovery wants to be this entire section here. And like I said, you want to be talking 40+% is spent here. Now the reason that you want to do this here as opposed to and ask those hard questions that I mentioned, the ones that you might be afraid a little bit to ask now because of the COVID, because of financial situations, because of pain in the market, right? It's a bit hard, but let me ask you this. Would you rather be asking hard, painful questions here, or would you rather be asking hard, painful questions after you've asked for the order? Here, right? Because there's no agenda. There's no money on the table. There's no like, well, you're only asking this question now that you want my money. You get it? So as you go through the discovery here, this is why it's so important to eliminate some of those issues that are going to be holding them back at the back end of the sale. Asking those hard questions. Like, what are some of the decisions that you've made in the past that unfortunately didn't work out, right? What are some areas or what are some problems you've had with previous companies you've dealt with like mine? And what are some of the reasons that you didn't buy that property in the past? What are some, right, you're asking those hard questions that people are like, oh, I don't know about that. That's kind of really intrusive. Like, I don't want to talk to that pain. But what happens when you do it correctly and you go through this and you ask those hard questions around budget, around failures in the past, around like pain points, like I said with the excavator analogy before, what's going to happen is you're eliminating the possibility of those same questions or objections coming up here. Meaning, oh, no, I can't do that now because I got burnt in the past. Or, oh, no, I can't do that because, you know, one time years ago, this agent told me this, and I can't do that today. Because now you've actually eliminated and neutralized those concerns here, right? So that discovery component, guys, is extremely important. That's where that asking 4 times based on each of those kind of questions that you're working through, that is so key. And obviously making sure that the questions you're asking as you go through that are done in a logical sequence, right? I'm not saying like, you know, hey Steve, mate, like how much have you got to, like what kind of deposit are you working with there, mate, at the moment? Oh, and where are you living there, Steve, at the moment? What's the suburb you're living in there? Okay, nice. And you've got a family there? Oh, perfect. And how's business? You know, it's like scattered all over the place. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, what? This doesn't make any sense at all. You know, so the logical sequence overall there is extremely important as well. All right. And then from there, you want to reiterate to them their situation. You want to reiterate, meaning repeat to them and recap their situation to them in the way that sounds something like this. All right. And what's going to happen and what you want to aim for, guys, when you're doing this is this. Just tell, am I going too fast? Is this fine? You guys are keeping up with this? Is good? Yeah, good. Cool. What you want to aim for more than anything else is this. It's an aha moment. It's an aha moment. And you want to gain this in 2 areas of the sale. Number one is this discovery when you go through and actually reach it here. And what it sounds like is this. You've gone through curiosity and you've gone through and asked 4 times over that have really, like you've got a really good picture of that person's motivation. You understand their needs. You understand some problems that have happened in the past. You've got a really good picture. And as you're doing this is what you want to be doing. As you're asking those questions, right, you're formulating this mental model, right? You're piecing together what their life looks like. You're like, okay, I see that there, while taking notes and obviously, you know, collecting information, but you're building a mental picture, right? And what you want to do in this section here, you want to reiterate back to them, well, look, based on what you've said to me there, I want to make sure I've got a nice clear picture. It sounds like this. It sounds like you've experienced over the last couple of years this. It sounds like some of your concerns are this, and this. Unfortunately, from what you've shared to me, the COVID's been quite tough, which has resulted in this, and this. And from what you're telling me, the idea of, you know, buying this property here would really be to do this and this and really secure your future family. Is that about right? Have I missed anything there? Right. And so you're recapping to them. And what it does is this. It tells that person, wow, like you really care about me. Like you're listening. You get it? Because if I can, and this is the aha moment, when you reach a response that sounds something like this, oh yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it any better myself. You understand that? It's like you just recap their life better than they can actually articulate yourself. And that's what we call understanding. That's that deep level of understanding, which from that point there, that person is actually in the position to say, please advise me. You know me. I trust you. You understand the power in that, right? Having that deep level of understanding on that very, very deep, like human to human level. They feel safe. They feel vulnerable. They're like, wow, like, yes, yeah. Where do we go from here, right? And it's extremely empowering for you to have that kind of ability to listen closely enough and achieve that level of rapport. That's really deep state of rapport there, okay? And the other state of that aha, I'll get to in just a minute. But the last piece that you want to make sure that you're getting to as well is empathy, meaning a tonality of empathy, and then working on those pain points. All right. working on those pain points in a tonality that's extremely empathetic and caring, okay? Concern, genuine kind of empathy towards their situation. But it's very, very, very important that you work on those pain points, all right? Now, you've all heard of the what's your why, or what's the reason, what's the motivating factor? Tell me your why. Okay, now this is a really interesting acronym or way for you to remember why as well. WHY. What hurts you? Okay, and that's someone's why. You think about that and really let that sink in for a minute. People's why is generally built around a particular pain point or an event or something that happened that they said, you know what, no more. The reason I'm in the place I am right now is because I was hurting enough, and my why was developed there a few years ago when I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not tolerating this. Enough's enough. It's time to change. You know, and that's really what you're trying to work towards when you're finding out and discovering about those people that you're working with, and you really want to work with them on that deep level through the discovery to understand them first, and then be in the position to actually advise them fully from a place of like, I genuinely understand you. Okay, does that make sense so far, guys? You with me with that? Yep.
Yep.
Cool. So I've got about another 5 more minutes I can spend in here. So let's jump into, so that wants to comprise, like I said, that 40%, all right? You really want to make sure as you're going through and understanding these people, you're coming across in a genuine kind of manner, and you're selling yourself really, really openly, honestly, in a state of like integrity and consistency. This is one of the biggest things that people rely on, and one of the things that's going to help you to sell yourself. It's a bit of an interesting term. How do I sell myself? Oh, you know, my name's Sasha, and like I'm really excited to be right. It's just like, all right, buddy. That's kind of weird. Like, you know, so selling yourself, it kind of comes from more of a place of your behaviors, the way you behave in that environment, things like consistency. All right. And consistency in your behavior, consistency in your actions, the words, the things that you are telling and speaking about yourself, the company, all those great things about you. People want to know that, hey, he said he's going to be here yesterday at this time, and he was actually late. Oh man, right? And so small gaps, and it's like death by 1,000 cuts, right? It's not going to be the one thing where they say, yeah, well, it was that actually there, Steve, that, you know, lost the deal. But it's just going to be over time. They'll be like, I don't know. I just don't feel that. I'm not sure. I'm just going to go with someone else. Right? And it's those small micro cuts that get built and built and built. And it's frustrating as absolute hell because they gracefully bow out. Well, look, thanks so much for your time. If you're anything like me, that's probably one of my most pet hate lines. You spent hours or days or months pursuing or working with a prospect, and they say, thanks so much for your time there. That's okay, no problem. I'm going to go with this vendor here, right? One of the most frustrating things. So your consistency in relation to yourself and how you operate is really what's going to sell yourself to a high degree. Now, on top of that, you know, consistency more so in relation to your own world, okay? Your behavior in relation to your business or your sales is just a reflection of you, all right? Now, if I set my alarm for 6 a.m. and then I wake up at 7:30, right? And I'm like, oh man, Jesus, tomorrow. And then I say to myself, I'm not going to eat Hungry Jacks today, but then I head straight down at lunch when I get a sizzling temptation from the grill there. And I'm like, well, whatever, I'll do it. You're constantly breaking these commitments with yourself. And what it does is it tells your subconscious, it tells your mind, it tells your body that, hey, I'm not a person to be trusted. So why would anyone else trust me? You get it? So if you're acting out of integrity with yourself, but you're saying to your prospects, well, believe me, John, like I promise, and all they're hearing is this guy, this girl just wants a commission. I don't believe for a second what they're saying. You understand? So it's extremely important. And if you want to have some questions, guys, I may have to, at a later session there, Steve, go into the back end of the sale. I feel like we're gonna go way overboard. I'm trying to condense as much down into the time that I've got here, but we can always do another session at a later date as well. But overall, the consistency in how you sell yourself, I want to leave you with that in relation to this particular point. One of the things that was really, really prominent in me in my life years ago when I was, in that state of complete disorder is I would wake up and I'd be like, all right, I'm going to do this today. I'm not going to use that stuff. I'm not going to do, and I would just completely derail day after day after day to the point where like I was in my head and hesitating. I couldn't even speak without being like cut off by my own mind. Get it? Where you're like, I should say, no, don't say that. No, Jesus, don't say that. And you're literally in your head and all your mind is doing is like, just chopping and chopping and chopping, cutting yourself off, overwhelm, huge levels of anxiety, huge levels of like, self-esteem issues. And it comes from simply looking back at your behavior and saying, well, look, Sasha, based on everything you've done over the past 2 years, you really suck. Everything you say turns to crap. You never keep up with your word. Why should people around you believe you? Why should I believe you? You're probably going to wake up tomorrow and fail anyway, right? And it becomes like this vicious circle that does nothing but destroy you. So you've got to start with those small things of consistency that builds yourself to the point where I know with absolute certainty that if I tell something to any one of my staff or people, any one of you guys, I'm doing it with a place of like, yo, I've done this for years and I'm telling you something that works. And I believe it with like my heart of hearts, like I know this, right? I'm not the type of person to sit here and say one thing and do the other because I've done that for years and it winds up in a bad place. All right. So if I can leave you with anything, it's really, really get your own affairs in order as well. In terms of this strategy, it's going to help massively, but you've got to have your own internal self in a high place of integrity and congruence and consistency so that everything you do just becomes easier and easier and easier. All right. So anyone have any kind of questions or points you want to understand or go through? Put your hands up if you want to say. Yeah, if you, I can come back. I'm actually going on a holiday for the first time in like 2.5 years tomorrow, so I'm mega stoked about that.
I've got a question, Sasha.
Yeah, dude, love to answer it.
Great seeing you, mate.
Likewise, man.
Now, obviously, when you're speaking to so many leads, there's one of those things that you put a reminder, call them again. When does it get to a point where you're like, you know what? Is this person just wasting my time? What are kind of some things that you would recommend to put them on the spot to say, hey, Tony, what's happening? Am I wasting my time? Is it just those words, or how do you kind of go about understanding whether that prospect is even worth your time?
A really good question. And what I always will use with this, and this is obviously dependent on the length of the sales cycle there, but some form of engagement tests around like a takeaway or some form of like taking the opportunity away that might sound something like, and I do it on the call quite often, and it works fantastically well with like those big ego buyers, those ones that come in, they flex on you, they tell you how much money they have, and they're like, yeah, I've got $15 million in the market at the moment, right? And they really, really want to like showcase how big they are. In that case, like some form of engagement test in the way of, well, look, I'm not even certain that, there's much we can help you with. I'm not sure. Like I've got a lot of other clients that really want to work with us. Am I better just spending my time with them? Right. And just like pull the opportunity away from them. And depending on that, depending on the cycle, depending on where you are in the sales cycle, it's going to differ a little bit. But generally speaking, what I tell my guys is this: if you get a buyer or a prospect that says, yeah, that's fine. Okay, well, we'll leave it at that. They were never yours in the first place. It was never your deal. It's not worth getting frustrated over. It's not worth you sitting there and huffing and puffing and chasing them for 6 months. They were never yours in the first place. And they're one of those like looky-loos, tire kickers, time wasters that you're going to lose sleep over and sit there frustrated about why you didn't close the deal. What did I do wrong? And it's like, buddy, like they were never going to buy. Does that kind of help, man? So some form of engagement test around that and takeaway is really powerful in relation to testing someone's like level of engagement there as well. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks.
Very helpful.
Hey, Sasha, I've got a question for you, buddy.
Hey, mate. How you doing, Rocco?
Good. Hey, mate, can you just summarize looping for me?
Say again, sorry?
Can you summarize looping for me, please?
Yeah. So in essence, what it is this. human beings work on the basis and psychologically work on the basis that to increase someone's certainty about something, it's not something that is reached by one particular moment, or like, for example, one presentation that was just like this absolutely brilliant masterpiece that was like, wow, now I'm at 100% certainty I'm definitely going to buy, right? It's generally speaking done over a series of incremental steps that builds and builds and builds, and there's stopping off points, meaning like if I was to, and the thing is this, right? You guys are probably exactly the same. The percentage of buyers is around about something like this, meaning 92% of people will say some form of maybe on the first time, right? 5% of people will say no, meaning you didn't disqualify them correctly on the first time, and around about 3% of people, right, will say yes. Okay, so basing your business around this is a surefire way to lose. The idea is to turn 30% of those maybes into a yes. And in essence, it's this. It's essentially taking the presentation that you gave. This is the easiest way to think about it. All right. I'm gonna sum this up, and then we'll probably wrap it up here, guys. But this is a really easy way to think about it. Let's say, and one of my clients did this recently. He went down to the Jeep dealership there, and he bought one of those new Jeep. What are they called? The Ute. I think it's like a Renegade or I'm not sure. Like those Jeep Utes, the new ones. They look tough as hell. They're really cool, right? So he bought one of those trucks, right? And that's like, let's just say that's the Jeep there, right? And so he goes in there, and the salesperson says, you know, it's $85,000 for one of these Jeeps. Yeah, like, do you want it? And he goes, oh, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm probably just gonna, you know, go and have a look around and see, you know, some other dealers and see what kind of price. I'll come back to you. All right, I'll come back to you. It's fine, right? And the salesperson goes, well, yeah. I mean, of course, yeah, definitely. I respect that. Do your due diligence. But like, let me ask you, like, do you like the truck? Like, I mean, do you think it's? And he goes, oh, yeah, no. It's great. To be honest, it's exactly what I want. I just want to make sure that, you know, I'm getting the best price, and I want to make sure that, you know, I can't find it cheaper elsewhere, like realistically, which is fair. And the salesperson says, all right, well, I know that you mentioned to me there, Keegan, that it's really important for you, you know, you like going, you know, sand dune driving out on the dunes out there. And you know, you said you like to have your truck really loud and it sounds really tough as well. Is that right? He's like, yeah, no, absolutely. All right, Keegan, well, look, what we'll do is this. We'll put some big tires on this here today. All right, so we're going to put these big sand tires on here. All right, and on top of that there, Keegan, we're actually going to put one of those big loud exhaust pipes on there. Right, so when you drive around, buddy, all your friends are going to hear you, and it's going to be pretty fantastic. Do you like the idea? Oh, wow, that sounds amazing. And on top of that, Keegan, look, we've got beautiful leather interior in this. So what we'll do there today, and today only, is we'll put a tinted window on there for you, completely free of charges. And look, I know I said 85,000, Keegan, but how about we do this? You get this deal signed today, we get in there and get that contract done, and I'll bring that down to just $80,000. Does that sound fair enough? Right? And all of a sudden, the same truck, right? There's so much more value being added to this thing. On top of what did I say about that action threshold, it's being brought down. You understand? And it creates that buy now decision, as opposed to, let me go think about it. I'm going to go speak to dealer A over here. I'm going to go and speak to dealer B over here, right? And then they go do their due diligence. So it's essentially shortening the sales cycle with simply more information is the most easy to understand way of putting it, right? It's about taking that point at which someone says, I've got to think about it, I've got to call you back. And rather than just meeting them with like rebuttals and handling the objections, which at no point adds any more certainty. You get it? All it does is it defeats their objection and can lead to nothing but hostility. Meaning you get a bit frustrated and you're like you don't understand. Like, I just want to think, well, think about it doesn't work. Like, callbacks don't work. I've been doing this for years, John. And you're like, you don't get it. You know what I mean? You haven't told me anything else about the product that now increases my certainty, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
And in essence, mate, that's what it is. In the shortest sense possible, there's obviously a structure and a framework and a formula to follow as part of it there, which I think be best to go through on the next session there, I think, to really kind of dive deep. But in essence, it's about giving a presentation that pretty much sums up what it is that you have, and then following it up once you get hit with an objection with some form of like additional information that you've just slightly withheld from that initial presentation. You're like, just wait till you hear this. Just give me a minute. You haven't even heard the best part yet, right? And then you follow up that additional presentation, increase the certainty again while lowering that action threshold, and make like, you work through the process of those 3 or 4 loops. And yeah, I mean, in terms of closing a lot more deals, it's an absolute, cracker. Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Guys, just want to, obviously, if we could just all unmute ourselves for a second, give Sasha a little bit of a round of applause for his amazing job today. So thank you so much.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, yeah.
And yeah, once again, Sasha's a good friend of mine who's come on here complimentary today. Obviously, normally charges for these types of sessions. And if there's any way that we can connect with him on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and add some value there back in return, perhaps even a review on LinkedIn to say, hey, enjoyed Sasha coming on today and shared some value. Whoever wants to do that, that'd be much appreciated. Please feel free to reach out to Sasha individually and give your thoughts with what your main takeaways are.
Yeah.
Sasha, we'll obviously send you our takeaways from today as well, what we got out of it.
Please,
I really want to just reflect on the fact that your sales is a reflection of you. So that was probably my main takeaway, is the consistency, not breaking lies to yourself.
Yeah.
It's probably the main part. I've obviously got tons out of it, but it all starts internally. So if we wake up and we make and honor our commitments to ourselves, that means we can stand behind our clients as well. So thank you. I'll pass back over to Cassie to wrap up, and then we'll keep going on with our session. But thank you so much, mate.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sasha. And I mean, the meditation session was something else. That was really, really awesome. And the strategy and the ultimate system that you have put in place was just really valuable and helpful to all of us. I have recorded this, so I hope you don't mind if I can send the recording out to the team after as a meeting.
Yeah.
Look back on it. And would love to set up another session in the near future after your holiday, of course, and dive back into more of the salesy session that you were talking about.
Sure.
And I will put your handles as well into there, so guys, we can leave some reviews.
Fantastic.
But otherwise, thank you so much for being here, and we all appreciate you and your time, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate it. It's been great spending some time with you today. I hope you have a fantastic day. Go get some deals done.
You as well. Bye.
Bye now.